Incredible light. Coming from there. When you have conditions like this, I guess the question is, do you shoot the light source, which is the sunset, or do you shoot a subject? And I guess, well, more often than not, the more interesting answer is if there's something like this mountain, light the subject. This is the first version of the Edelkrone SliderPlus with their action module, and so the new version is app enabled, so it's even more user friendly, but this is really on its own just so easy to use. I can be up and running on time-lapse within a couple minutes. It's my A7RII, and I've put my my multi-tool pouch there just to save battery. And there's Skagaströnd, a town mountain with the first snows of the season. I mean, if you look at this meadow, it may look like I'm way out of town, but actually I'm just a few minutes walk. You see the town is back there. Hey, what's up guys? So I'm here running another motion time-lapse with this sculpture in the foreground and this nice sunset in the background with the West Fjords way out there in the distance. As you can see, I've got on f14 1/10 second. There's a Hoya polarizer in the front of this lens, and I'm running it for 360 shots every 5 seconds, which makes it just under half an hour. Essentially what I've been doing these past few days is just sort of studies how do the time lapses look, what works best, how does the light look, what focal length looks great with a certain amount of movement and things like that. And also just really getting to know the gear, how long do the batteries last. Lithium batteries just do not behave well in the cold, so you really have to keep those batteries warm. I remember Chris Burkhardt saying he would keep them in his gloves or like in his pockets and with hand warmers, so that's a pain in the butt, and it's hard to operate a camera with gloves. So right in the middle of that last clip, this camera died, just totally proving my point that wrangling batteries in weather this cold, it's 5 degrees, kinda sucks. Anyway, peace out for real now. Sunset! So it's the third day in a row I'm doing motion time-lapse, and it is the most gorgeous, perfect, clear day since I've arrived here. It's exactly my second week in Skagaströnd, and today I'd like to show you more of the process as I shoot a motion time-lapse of this sunset. At this point, I've used the MeFoto app to see that the sun is going to go below the horizon in about an hour. So I've got my camera set to shoot every 8 seconds for 480 frames. That'll give me 20-second time-lapse, and it's going to take just over an hour to shoot. Alright, this is the Sony time-lapse app, just kind of the fastest way to do it. Alright, and over here, again, because I'm not using this as the intervalometer, I'm not using the photo time-lapse mode, but the video time-lapse mode. And you start by showing it the endpoint. So I'm thinking I'm gonna go this way. Whoopsie, unlock it. And go this way. Have to be careful because the tripod's flimsy, so I can't go too far to the left. Should be alright. Now let's go to the starting point. A little too much. That should be alright. And say we're gonna be here for 64 minutes. So when I click this, it's gonna start. A couple things Got some filters here. This is a reverse graduated ND filter that's darker at the bottom, unlike a standard ND filter, and that's specifically to balance out the sunset because it's brighter at the bottom than at the top. Great filter. That's a Format High-Tech filter, and behind it is a Firecrest, Format High-Tech Firecrest 10-stop ND. So I'm dragging the shutter. What that allows me to do is to have a nice 3.2 second exposure. And I'm shooting in shutter priority, and the app is tracking exposure a little bit, so it'll adjust a little bit as the light levels go down, and I'll just use LRTimelapse to even out any imperfections. That's worth another tutorial altogether. Right now we're on the sea cliffs at the edge of town with this beautiful sunset on one side and Spakonufell on the other. I am really looking forward to shooting things because the seasons are gonna change in a few weeks. It's gonna be a really dramatic change because winter is coming, and so there's gonna be much more snow. It's going to be white, so hopefully I can just come back here again and again. And the sun is down. It is incredibly beautiful out here, looking out at the West Fjords over there. And for the third day in a row, I've had a battery die prematurely because of the cold, but this time it was the battery on my slider. So I've still got this time lapse running, but the slide stopped at some point, and I didn't notice because one of the local guys just saw me and we had a nice chat. Anyway, I guess that'll do it for day 3. Today, on this frigid day, I'm on the south edge of town, right here at the bridge, shooting some time lapse. And for today, I'm just doing static because I'm zoomed in. Don't want too much shaken, just want it to be more about the motion of the clouds. Stuff like this, slow moving clouds. You want to be somewhere between like 6 to 10 seconds on the interval. If it's fast moving, you want to be just up to 5 seconds, that kind of thing. And drag the shutter a little bit. It's another gorgeous location. We have this river down here flowing out into the sea, the bay, and the West Fjords. And just listening to the sound of this flowing water is quite relaxing. What I've taken to doing is, well, I have this pair of wireless Bluetooth headphones that are inside my hat, and I just listen to podcasts or audiobooks. So I've been out here for about 1.5 hours now, and I am freezing. And oh man, in the middle of shooting this time lapse and the behind the scenes time lapse on this camera, this incredible scene unfolded before me with these horses over here just running from over there across the meadow with this gorgeous light in the background, and I only had my cell phone to shoot it with. Anyway, this time lapse is almost done, and I think that'll wrap it up for the day. Till the next time lapse. Peace out. Shooting just one time lapse today. I'm way out in the meadow. There's town right there in Spakonufell, the mountain. And I was just here observing some horses when this amazing glimpse of sunset came. No motion time lapse today. I came here hunting for a scene, and this just materialized. 360 shots, shooting every 5 seconds. And that's about it. Beautiful sky color. And today I'm working just outside our artist studio right there, shooting a long exposure time lapse. So this time I've got my slider on the ground and I've got my format high-tech Firecrest ND filter here, 10 stops. I am shooting 2.5 second exposures every 7 seconds of this scene over here. I'm trying to combine time-lapse with this minimalist long exposure landscape photography we see in a lot of fine art, and this is for a collaboration I'm working on with one of the other artists in the residency. I actually like that the weather is it's really cloudy, because that's what this kind of shot needs. I think one of the best things about shooting time-lapse is how you basically become a student, an observer and a student of all of these changes in light, especially in a latitude, in a place like this where there's just so much like weird variation in light, with the sun just so low across the sky the whole day. Look at that weird like division in color between this blue at the bottom and this more orange pink bruise color at the top. I don't know, it's so strange. I've never seen this before. It's just because, you know, the sun is setting somewhere over there, but you got all these clouds. Such a strange division in color. This is my third attempt at shooting this time-lapse today, and it's just past 6 p.m. and it's my third attempt because just each day keeps getting shorter and shorter, and I'm unable to predict just how dramatically the light and amount of illumination will change. And if I don't start early, there's basically no way I can kind of get a flat light. I mean, it's well into blue hour, it's dark, the lights are on. But check out how bright that strip of light in the sky is. It's really weird and surreal and kind of makes shooting time-lapse a challenge. But it's great because I can just step out every day and practice. So you can see here, I've got it running at a really long interval, 18 seconds. Because each exposure is going to be 13 seconds long. I had to hook my bag to the tripod to weigh it down, make sure it doesn't move too much. And important thing to remember here is that the weight should hit the ground and not be dangling, or else it'll just create more vibration. And this will run for about 70 minutes. Today's time-lapse is a 40-minute 480 frame time-lapse, shooting every 5 seconds. Just getting all the changing colors on Skagaströnd, this absolutely beautiful town. That's Skagaströnd down there. As you can see, winter has finally arrived here in Skagaströnd. It is incredibly beautiful. Here, everything covered in snow, and I'm shooting my first time lapse of the winter. It's just a basic 360 exposure sequence. I just got running from left to right with these objects as my foreground. I'm just having this winter sun go across the sky like that, and this is running for about 48 minutes. Oh, well, that's interesting. I'm not too worried about the camera either, because I've just seen Chris Burkhardt put the exact same camera through so much more. The slider, well, if the weather got any crazier, I'm not sure if I would leave it out. It is not as cold as it's been during days when it's just really windy, or when I'm up there at the cliffs and it's really windy. This is actually pretty pleasant in the gear that I'm wearing, so I don't mind standing here watching this extended sunrise. The sun never gets much higher than that in the sky this time of year. Good morning, friends. It is 9:30 a.m., 10 minutes before sunrise, and I am shooting a motion time lapse here in this beautiful spot with all this melted snow. This is actually my first sunrise time lapse, because finally the sun is late enough for me not to get up ridiculously early to shoot a sunrise time lapse. It is an absolutely gorgeous cloudless morning here in the meadow outside town. I've got a time lapse running for just over an hour, 480 exposures every 8 seconds, just waiting for the sun to come out. It is 10:15 a.m. and the sun is finally peeking out from behind the mountains. Meanwhile, the path I took here is kinda underwater now because the tide came in, so it's gonna be a little sketchy walking back. Time lapse still going, and I really am legitimately concerned about how I'm going to cross back to the bridge with this water coming up. So in the end, discretion was definitely the better part of valor there, because take a look, it's entirely submerged now. Oh my goodness. Glad I wasn't stubborn, because that would have been scary. Now I am in a much safer spot, shooting a much more relaxed time lapse of the sunrise. So because of the cold and lack of preparation, I ran out of all my batteries today, and so for the first time on this trip, I'm using this external battery to power the camera. And the reason I haven't been using it is just, again, lack of preparation. I left the bracket that attaches it to the hot shoe at home, far away in the Philippines, but turns out, you know, it's perfectly fine just to use the cable, have it run into the bag, and have unlimited power. And that's it.